Good morning.
Morning.
And it is actually morning for us right now, and as it is for everybody else listening to this. Um, Welcome to episode 186, where we are proudly sponsored for the meetup, not necessarily the podcast, by Grit Automation, our platinum level sponsor for our meetup, which is happening in September, which we only have 10 tickets left, 9 tickets left,
10.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, they are the platinum level sponsor for that event. And as such, we would like to thank them at the beginning of every episode leading up to the best meetup in the woodworking industry
Ever.
ever. But that's enough of that. We'll do all the other admin stuff later, such as giveaways and welcoming new patrons. But Mr. Fulton just got back. Oh, I guess I should say this is yet again another week where Sedge will not be joining us. He got a multi-million dollar offer from another podcast, and he's weighing his options. So he will once again not be with us today. He actually doesn't even know that we're recording this right now. Um,
Yeah.
but hey, we got to make it work. So we're recording very late this week due to the fact that Ronnie was at an event. Sedge has had something that he's responsible for all week at Festool, which I'll talk a little bit about because he did come by this week. And I was supposed to be at that event, however, had to pull out of the event. And that would be the Maker's Ultimate Challenge, which is what I would love to hear about this morning. Not only because, I got to go last year and it was an amazing event. I'm very interested to hear what you thought of the event. And more importantly, is pretty much every listener that listens to our podcast could be a part of this event.
Hmm.
It is not based off of, your social media audience and your size. Granted, obviously the captains, they want people that have a decent pull because that does help them get the word out there. But to be on one of the teams, and Ronnie, I'm sure you'll get into this,
Hmm.
you don't have to be some mega, you know, massive
Right.
account on social media. So, with that being said, tell us all about it, Ronnie. I want to
Well,
hear it.
I recall you talking about it last year, and it really helped my understanding of it. But the basic premise is, and you might need to help me out here because there's a lot of little entities going on. And I think one of the most
Mhm.
impressive things is how many different groups are involved in this production of it. But high level, to me, what it is for is to help out the economic area where we were in Maryland, which was almost on the West Virginia border. And it's like 2 to 3 hours to the closest airport from where this resort
Yeah.
is. They have a really nice golf resort. They put us up in, but the town is like 17 minutes down the hill. And the best way to explain it is it's like a town you'd see in a train station. It has little train tracks running back and forth, little stream running through it, and it's just like an older town. I don't think there's really any new buildings. It's all just like older buildings that have been, you can tell they've been 1,000 different stores or places of business. What they did was they created a space for the Allegheny colleges involved in it, and there's a lot of groups involved, more than I even know. But the purpose is to introduce people to different areas of trades and skills that they would never be exposed to without this kind of place. So they have this amazing building that you walk in, and there's like an atrium shared space, but then there's rooms off from it. And there's one room that's a tool and die room, like welding. Then there's another
Right.
one that's the woodworking shop. And then there's one that's a 3D like print lab where they have
Mhm.
like a UV thermal printer that's $250,000 just for that one thing. Um, what else do we have? We have, is there another room? I think that's the
The
main, there's
woodworking, metalworking, 3D
metal.
print, but they also had like you could
Oh,
do
robotic.
screen printing and everything too.
Yeah.
Robotics.
Or there's a robotic area that just has arms and like, teaches how to do that. And the cool thing is that, students have access to this, and then you also can be a member, kind of like a fitness gym where you pay monthly and you can come in, and once you're certified and they say, yes, you're certified to use this room or these tools, you're able to freely go in there and work on things. So it allows people to have exposure to technology and tools that they would never have exposure to. And the benefit to the community is it creates skilled trades and skilled people in that area where they could go get a job somewhere, or maybe they could even start their own company. But it's just a great idea. It's like every community should have this. And the last figure I heard was they've invested almost $10 million in this
Yeah.
facility. And that's like, wow. But if you put that up against college numbers, that's not that much. You
Mm.
know, it to create something that's they have full-time employees there. They're like know what's going on, and kind of the same way really a fitness gym works. You've got people that work there that know how the machines work, and it's just a really cool facility. So what their idea was, let's bring in some people that have some pull on social media. Let's involve people in the area, which is in our case was a middle school teacher and a student who was in robotics. Each one of the teams, we had 4 teams this time. I think we had 6 last time, and they
Hmm.
went with 4 teams this time. And I think that's a good idea because I can't imagine 6. With 4 was a lot going on. And we're just challenged to build something that we have no idea what it's going to be. And they just basically told us, do something that's solar. They had one of the sponsors was Renogy, which is, I think, one of the highest end solar brands you can use on like van build outs. So I was impressed with that. And they just give us a pile of wood and tell us to build something. But we'll go more into that. But to skip up on the premise of it is that the idea is just to bring awareness to the local area, bring for like economic development, bring awareness to the trades and the value of going into the trades. And it's also just to have fun, but it brings a lot of different people together. It is judged competition, and they brought in like 12, I'd say 12, 14 people from the local area. And it's anywhere from the mayor to like head of
Hmm.
the technical group of a school, at somebody who works at the college. They pick a really broad range of people. And it's just impressive to see how big of a sphere this affects in the community. They tap on everybody that has any type of interest at all, and this is involved.
Yeah.
That's kind of a high level of what I think it is. And there's a lot of brand sponsors that get exposure as well.
So when you arrived on day one, just because I want people to kind of visualize how the event goes, like obviously you guys have your welcome reception and all that stuff, but I'm saying like when you arrived to the college, and I would assume at that point you didn't have any idea what you guys were going to build, correct? Because we
Oh,
didn't.
correct.
Okay.
We didn't know. No.
So when you got there, what happened on the first morning you got to the place? Like talk through how it
Well,
started.
we met at the resort first in the morning for breakfast, and she told us a little overview when we went in that we'd be assigned to our teams. So we didn't even know our teams. So when we walked in, they told us who our teams were and told us which station to go to. And they had 4 stations set up with DeWalt's one of the sponsors. So there was a lot of DeWalt tools and things that you need to build with a pile of 2x6s, 4x4s, and decking material. There's a lot of that, and then they had some other tools as well. And then they have a store, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about, where the store is like a fully stocked hardware store with all the bells and whistles they think we could ever want for a project. And we have to purchase those through posting. We get
Muck bucks.
muck bucks,
Yeah.
and you get muck bucks, and you can rent some tools like routers and things like that they have for rent. It's a really cool concept because it forces you to post when at events. Sometimes the last thing you want to do is post when you're busy trying to be creative and building things.
Hmm.
So that's a really good idea. Kept the posts coming. But yeah, they basically then they just told us that we've got solar and we're looking for some type of outdoor project that could be in a outdoor space, and seating as a bonus is what they told us. So we all just were they just sent us to her and said, go ahead and start. The timer starts now. And it was, it's kind of stressful. You're sitting there thinking, what am I going to come up with? What are we going to do? But it just kind of comes together.
Yeah. How long did it take you guys to come up with the general, I say general idea, because I'm sure that it probably changed a little bit, but
I would say 2 minutes at the most.
really?
hmm that's where it pays that I've been involved in. I don't probably like probably 4 different build offs for sure, at least. And I've seen that's where you can waste a lot of time.
Hmm.
And my thinking was, my team was a middle school shop teacher. Cameron was on my team, which was cool, and he was a co-captain. So Cameron, and then we had a high school junior, and he was mainly robotics. He was not like an experienced woodworker, but he gave a lot of input and we taught him how to do a lot of things. So he was helpful on the team. But when they said solar, I immediately thought, well, it's going to have a roof for the solar panels. Is the only way it's going to actually get sun. So I told them, I was like, we need to think simple. Let's try to get this built today, the structure, and we can do all the bells and whistles and pretty stuff tomorrow because we only have 2 days to build it. And they were all on board. They're like, sounds great. So the biggest challenge is you can't like lay it out to scale on paper. You don't have time.
Hmm.
So we just started laying it out on the floor, like the side view of it, of just based on comfortable seating positions and just based it off from. And I quickly saw that our design was looking like a Adirondack chair.
Right.
And I was like, that's what we need to go for. Like a mid-century modern, it's simple, easy joints, and that's what we need to go for. And it's funny, I've never thought about before. I've never built a Adirondack chair before, but I started realizing why they are the way they are. You need that back leg. It gives it a lot of stability where it doesn't just blow over in the wind.
Hmm.
And once you look at that back leg design, it kind of states what the upper leg is going to be. And all of it just kind of, it was the way that it should be. Building it the way that it should be to make it strong makes it look what you'd call look right and look real. So the dimensions and everything kind of played out once we got that first back angle. So
Yeah.
we really figured out the design quick. It was very simple. It was almost like a stick drawing, and we're like, yeah, let's go, let's start. There were other teams that spent a lot longer on coming up with their layout.
Yeah, because they try to think of all the cool little intricacies that they can do for the whole project before they even get started.
Yeah, we had ours built before when most people were starting. Our structure was already coming into like you could already tell what it was going to be.
When I saw what you guys were building, I liked it so much more than what we did. Even though what we did was fun and cool, I almost feel like there was too much going on, as where yours was a little bit more simplified. And because of that, you got to really like do a, because I saw all the finished ones and they were all pretty dang cool. Like,
Yeah, they were.
as where ours, we did the outdoor kitchen thing.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just too much going on, right? Because you're trying to figure out like you want to incorporate like a drawer for storage and hooks and lights and umbrellas and portability and all of these things and like so some of it they came up with really cool ideas and fun things to do in 2 days, but like it was too much,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I don't feel like it was practical because some of them were like, no one's ever going to use this. Like if you use it, it would burn down, right? Like
Right.
it wouldn't
Right.
work at all. But like everything that you guys made, I feel like is functional and would be beneficial and could last a very long time. So I did think that what they chose for you guys was a heck of a lot better. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention something because you said that they paired you with a junior that was in robotics. So we didn't have that exact thing last year, but what we did have is we had a local uh, student that was in robotics or something like that. They weren't actually like participating in building the thing. They were more like our point of contact who would like give us the muck bucks and all of that stuff. But what I really liked about it, and I'm glad that they incorporated the kids into the team, was because the kid that we had, and I can't remember his name at this point, but he was so interested in what we were doing. And he would follow me around because I was doing a lot of the stuff in like the actual woodworking shop. And he would follow me around and just like want to know everything that I was doing and learn from it. And I thought that that was so cool. So I'm
Hmm.
glad to hear that they actually got those kids involved to be on the team and
Hmm.
not just kind of be like the point of contact if we had questions or we needed to make posts and we needed muck bucks and that kind of stuff. Because he
Yeah.
seemed so interested in what we were doing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it at first we were trying to figure out how he could help. He was just kind of standing there, and we were like, "Have you ever put screws in wood before?" And he was like, "No." And it was very interesting. Cameron showed him how, to do it, and you know how awkward. You can always tell when somebody hasn't done a lot when they grab a drill and start putting in screws. It tells you
Hmm.
everything you need to know. And it's interesting though when you're younger, his first maybe 4 times were awkward. Probably on his fifth or sixth time, you would think he's put in screws a lot. He grabbed it quick, like got into it really quick. He plans on being a trauma surgeon, and he's a junior in high school, and he's at sophomore level classes right now in college.
Oh,
This guy
wow.
was like very smart. He just had not built anything before. So
Right.
he was much more involved as the project went on, and we asked for his input, and he gave, some really good input on some things. And so it was good to have him involved. And
S-
the middle school shop teacher, it was interesting also, like the take. The only thing that I had to make sure I did, I had to keep bringing them back in to not getting too fancy or not doing too much because it's such a short amount of time. And the other thing was just reminding everybody, I kept picturing this being in a park, what we're building, or like at a front of in a, like a county fair or something where everybody can walk up and use it. And there's only so much you can do on the extras with that. That's not going to get broken or, somebody's going to mess with. So we kind of kept that theme throughout the whole thing.
Right. So after day one, so you got everything basically the structure built on the first day.
Yep. We were the only one. People were making fun of us for putting our already had our solar panels installed on the
Of
roof.
course, they're making fun of you. They're jealous.
Yeah, well they were like, "Are y'all gonna have anything to do tomorrow?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we'll have plenty." I was reminding my team, I said, "We will have plenty to do tomorrow. It will take the entire day. Don't feel like we're, there. Sometimes you think you're there, but you're not."
So I definitely want to talk a little bit about the stuff outside of the build itself, but I think we should come back to that. So you came back to the hotel, and then the next day you went, and then what happened on day two?
So day two, we walked in and it was kind of like a lot of builds you can just start. No one really says anything. You just know what you need to do and you just go ahead and get started. And we just focused on getting all of the areas. We had like three areas we were concentrating on, and we made it. You're. It's funny. You'll take the time you have. That's true with anything, any project. If you know you've got all day to finish, like a bookcase, you're going to probably spend all day finishing it because you can really always critique and go over your work. But we just pretty much came in and just started building, doing the three areas that we had left. Cameron wired. He did pretty much wiring the whole day on the second day, wiring in the control box and all of the things that go along with it. That's time consuming.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty much the main thing that he worked on in the control panel on the front of it, which had it had three charging banks and then a switch that turned on a light around the awning over the seat.
And
And
he
that
did
was
all of that.
he did all of it. No one even talked to him about it. That just kind of was his thing. He just took it on.
Wow.
That was
That's
his first
impressive.
time dealing with that. There was a rep there from Renogy, he's like an electrician, but he sold that product, and he came over and checked on Cameron a few times and was like, "You need help?" Cameron was like, "Nope, I'm good." So
Yeah,
it
I
was
got
cool.
it.
Yeah, it was cool. So he got into that, and we concealed all the wires. We ran a dado down a board and completely concealed all of them. I think we were the only team that concealed our wires. You couldn't see any of them. And we got a stainless steel box from the Muck store on day one. We saw it and we grabbed it. And it was a stainless steel enclosure that held the battery, all of the control like modules, everything fit inside of there and it had a lock on it. So again, it was like a perfect project
Right.
to
Did
go
now did
into
they
a
only have one
park.
of those stainless steel boxes or
Yeah, they had some plastic ones too, but we grabbed the stainless steel one. They said that box was $100 and they charged 100 bucks for it. And in real life, it was $100.
oh wow.
They dropped some money on that one, but that was good. It even had an open back, little open place on the back that we didn't even have to drill a hole in.
Yeah.
So it was great. So that was a good fun. That was a good move getting that early on. We also had two solar panels because we bought an extra one, and everybody else had one on theirs. So we had some major power going to it.
Oh, really?
You know what was cool? There were skylights in there, where we're
Hmm.
working. As soon as we started working on it, the outlets went live just from the power on the solar panels before we even hooked up the battery. And I never realized that. I always thought solar panels, like I think of them as that they were charging a battery. I don't think about them giving live power.
Huh.
Did you ever think about that or realize that?
No.
I didn't realize that you could like have a solar panel and you're actually running something off from it live. I guess I did know that because they make cell phone chargers that just are a
Yeah, they're
solar
solar.
panel.
Yeah. You just
I
plug the
guess
cable in.
I was just surprised the controller and all the lights started coming on before we had the battery hooked up, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's pretty cool. We had a voltmeter, well, Cameron did, and it was getting 12.7 volts. And when he turned the lights on under the canopy, the little rope lights, it went from 12.7 to 12.4 volts. So it was only zero point 0.3 of a draw. So that told us that basically those lights could be on forever until they burn
Yeah.
out. They would never get pulled down by as long as they were, charged each day. So that was cool.
Yeah. Now, so you just added like a bunch of like little fine tuning it basically to
Yeah,
get it to
that
what you guys wanted.
the panel that we put on the armrest, we used aluminum. We had the shop help us cut out a rectangle for the panel, and then we bent it. We didn't have a brake, but we bent it and made two little wood plugs for it. And it looks like something. I kept saying real. It looks real. It looks like something that you bought from a factory. It was totally something we made from scratch. So there was a lot of time spent on that. That was another thing Cameron did with the electrical part. He made that part of his project as also. But having somebody dedicated to that was good because there's a lot of detail that goes into that. And we just concentrate on finishing up all the wood components and wrapping the top. And there's that's where we did miters and things like that. For day one, we didn't have to do any miters. It was all just crossover joints and things like that.
Yeah. All right. So I want to get to who obviously ended up winning, but to get to that point, let's go back and like outside of the build itself. Um, what was the name of that hotel or the resort? Do you remember?
Rocky Gap
Rocky Mountain
Casino,
Gap Resort or
Rocky
something?
Gap Casino Golf Resort, I believe
Yeah.
is.
So nice place, right?
Mhm.
Really
Mhm.
cool. So on the first night, did they have like a little event mixer, where they
Not
had
on
everybody
we
come in?
Sunday was arriving night, and we didn't see very many people because a lot of people were driving in, so they didn't come in until Monday, I believe. And people that got there there too were coming from California, so they didn't get there till late.
So you guys
Um,
were kind of like on your own that first night?
we we played a total of cornhole for 6 hours. Cameron and I did with a break for dinner in between, and we didn't plan on doing that, but we went back out and just started playing again because it was really the only thing to do.
With other people at the event?
Yeah, no, just Cameron and I.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, we played for because the only people that there was only I saw Dave, him as 3D Dave.
Hmm.
He was there with his wife and his two kids, and he came out and talked to them for a while, but they were just gonna go in early and eat dinner, and so Sunday was just kind of a rival day.
Yeah, so that's one thing that, and I don't know if this would be afforded to every person that comes, but I do know some other people brought their wives when I was there. Um, is that they did offer for me to bring Nicole and the kids to that event.
Yeah,
So I think next year it might be something that I actually try to kind of plan, like that we can all go because it's during, summer break and it's an amazing
yeah.
location.
The only thing is, I did hear talk about them maybe changing the location. I did hear about that. Just so you know.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. I One of the things I know Joni Sprague, one of the ones that went, was talking about she wishes more was they could see more of the town. Like, for example, dinner in the town and that kind of thing. And maybe so they were just starting to talk about the possibility of it.
Huh. I thought I talked to Marianne, who you met Marianne, right? The
Mhm.
one that kind of puts the whole thing on and runs it. She's amazing. But
Oh yes.
um she had mentioned that they already have everything locked and set for next year.
Yeah. Yeah. I overheard some conversation. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
don't know for sure. You know how they sometimes they change things up to the last
Right.
minute. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's a chance they might because they were talking about the possibility of how to because I think one of the things that they saw is that even though that resort offers so much, there's not a lot that we get to use of that other than if it's nice weather, we're out by the water, and but it's just after the event. We're there from 8 o'clock till 5 at the technical the what's it called, the Maryland Works. What's it
Hmm.
called, Maryland?
Western Maryland works.
Yeah, Western Maryland Works, the facility. We're there like the whole day, so we get there just at night. So we're not using a lot of the amenities there. I think that's what they were thinking, but that's not to say they won't have it there. But it's it's a really cool area, very different.
Now, so the first night, but before the event actually started, not much going on. Last year, we did have like a welcome hangout type thing. Like you could go check in,
Hmm.
and they had that big room with all the tables and everything. But they did have like a little thing. They had some food provided, drinks provided, all that kind of stuff. What about day after day one of the build.
Yeah,
What
day
did that look
one,
like?
they had the room. They have a conference room rented out.
Hmm.
So they had dinner and they had like a little drink area set up in the corner. And that was the first time everybody got together after the build. So we did that on, that was the first and second night.
So
Um,
they did it both nights. Now,
yeah,
on the second night, did they was that when they started doing the judging and everything?
they didn't, the projects were too large slash heavy to take to the facility. I think last year they took them
Hmm.
to, so they were too big for that. So they decided just to get pictures and they brought the judges to the Maryland Works place first. And then it was held at the in the conference room after, and they just had pictures up on slide,
But
and that's
they'd
when they
seen him in
announced.
person.
Yeah, that's where they announced the winner. They saw him in person before that, so the judging happened at Maryland Works.
Got it.
Yeah,
And
that's
then on the third morning, they get everybody together for breakfast, right? And
um
they
yeah.
announce who.
No, they did it that night.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they did. Everything was done. About like 7:30, 8 o'clock. They announced all the winners and everything.
So you guys had nothing going on Wednesday morning this time.
Yeah, nothing. She had told us Wednesday's a free day. You can leave whatever time you want. That's what she.
Oh, okay. So that's a
Yeah,
little bit different than it was last year. Last year, they brought like all the local people, like the mayor and whoever ended up wanting to come that night, and they all voted.
yeah.
And then the
That.
next morning, we all met up for breakfast. They did like an awards thing. A couple of the brands did some giveaways. That's when I won the Gerstner tool chest.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so who ended up?
that was all done that night and kind of at the same time.
Who
So who all
won?
ended up being, so we had Sam DIY Huntress, Lindsay is Woodbrain. Um, we Izzy Swan is like the oversees the whole event, and it's kind of, I would call it his event with all the people we named. So Izzy and his wife was there, Maggie, Dave, 3D Dave, Joni Sprague, which some people may not be familiar with because she is in other spaces as well. But her background was she was on America's Top Model, and then she was on Trading Spaces, and then she switched over to the home improvement side, and she's been on some HGTV shows, and I believe she's just called Joni Sprague. I don't think she has a
Right.
name. It's just SPRAUG, maybe.
UGE, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
she's
nice.
really cool, just full of energy. Um, I think that's all the social media people. I don't think I left anybody out. Eric Curtis was supposed to come down and he was not able to, I assume. I never heard why, but he was supposed to be coming on Monday, she had said. Um, but they called it Muck Light this year because they'd said that they noticed a difference in the companies being involved from tariffs, that they're pulling back some because of tariffs.
Hmm.
So they had to kind of pull back some on the event and not make it. I think that's why they went with four groups and not six.
Hmm.
But I told Izzy I like the idea of four. I think six is a little much, I mean, especially when there's only two miter saws. In the facility, there's one in the wood shop, and they brought one and put it on the loading dock. And that's the tool everybody wants to use,
Yeah,
and it
especially for
wasn't
a project
available.
like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. One of the smartest things Cameron and I did was we took our little Sedgeleys packed with the things we wanted, and that's a no-brainer. That's a must when you go to a build because like I don't want to switch from my Pika back to a carpenter's pencil. I brought my boat builder gauge, my woodpecker one that just you can lock in an angle without knowing what it is. That helped us out so much. It saved us so much time.
Hmm.
My tape measure, my Paolini pocket.
That's the benefit of driving, I guess. Yeah. You could bring all
Yes,
the stuff you wanted.
yes. Well, on that, you could even fly with that. It's only the size of like your hand, pretty much. And there's not you just wouldn't be able to take a chisel or a knife, I guess, unless you checked it into your bag. But yeah, I had my bourbon blade in there. We actually used it a few times. So it was that was handy. We both brought ours, and that saved time. But it's a good event. It's just tiring. You can't explain to someone who has not experienced it before. Like I always try to tell my wife, "Well, I feel so wiped out." It's Cameron was trying to quantify it too. He was like, "You're building. You're using all of your brain power building just about. But then on top of that, you're supposed to do a post to get money, which
Yeah.
adds a whole nother thing. Plus, there's a social aspect where you're talking to people and people are coming up constantly asking you what you're doing. Like, where are you building? Can you tell us what you're doing? Hey, could you all go do an interview over here? Our film crew, they pulled us off three times to give us interviews. And You really have to multitask. It's really
Hmm.
hard to get back on. Your productivity goes down because you're constantly being pulled away for different things. So they're a challenge. And every time I get back from one, I'm always like, I have one day of just my brain's almost like recalculating. Because you go from so much on from morning to night to coming back and it's just dead. Like you're just like, whoa, it's hard to switch back. And I think the most that somebody could probably be like exposed to that is saying working a trade show the whole day. It's kind of the
Hmm.
same kind of thing. If you
Hmm.
work a trade show the whole day, it wears your brain out completely.
It's
And
well, yeah.
Cameron feels the same way. So I'm glad it's not just, oh, I'm getting old. No, Cameron was 100% exactly the same place as me brain wise.
Well, I mean, I think that's the good thing about how they like mix like people that like to do the social media stuff with other people that aren't really interested or don't have a following because as a captain, if you're one of those people that has that social media thing, you can kind of set it up to where like, hey, I got to go do this thing. Here's what I need you to do.
Right.
Or let's work on this while I go do this. Like when we did ours, I remember we sat down, came up with a design, an idea of what we were going to do, and we got to the point pretty quickly that I was like, all right, let's just execute. But we know we need this, this, and this, and this out of the store. I'll go get started on doing some of these posts. So like right off the bat,
That's what we did.
they're getting the materials. I'm like doing my social media stuff real
Mhm.
quick. We're getting the muck bucks. We're buying the stuff. And then we're just able to create content from there pretty easily. But you almost have to do something like that to get, which I think it's a brilliant
Oh, it is.
way to do it. Like that's why I said before, I think it was probably the funnest event that I've been to, the funnest build event by far. But just the way that they did it and how it was so beneficial for not only us but them on a social media perspective and for the brands, that was really smart. And if I'm being honest, that was kind of the way that I was had envisioned our event to go, which is why like in order to you know get a entry to the grand prize, like you must share on social media and all that stuff, and it just didn't
Yeah.
work because like not everybody's good at like posting and you
Right.
can't
Right.
track all of it and they don't put the right tags or they don't do it right. And but that whole thought process, it's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah. And one thing they did differently this year is your muck bucks didn't carry over till the next day, which is smart.
Mm.
So you don't want to do too many posts to
People
where you have more money than you need. So we had two in the back end that we didn't even actually end up posting because we didn't need as much the second day, but it was a good idea. Oh,
yeah.
reels were worth the most. So we just stuck with reels as we needed
Yeah, I
money. We were
noticed
with
that.
like
Yeah.
$80. It was only 30 for a story and 80 for a reel. Okay, I'm doing a reel, you
Was it
know.
30 per story?
Yeah, I guess so. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's when
But
I just
yeah,
spaced my stories out. I didn't talk the
yeah,
whole time.
yeah. We didn't really have to post a lot to get the money that we needed. Like that probably is
Right.
something they could change. And as he said, it was the same way last year. He goes, a lot of the posts were on day one, and then people, they're more stressed the second day. The thing that we've talked about this before about festival to build off, every build off we go to, they want us to post, but it is so hard to try to do that. One, you can't even barely. Everybody's always running a router. There's so much sound going on. It's hard to record any kind of like talking type thing. That's a challenge. And also, no event ever allows for posting time, ever. They even talk about that they're going to, but they don't. You have to
Yeah.
stop what you're doing and do that. And sometimes that can take, especially, they wanted us to tag like, I'd say 12 or 13
Of the
organizations and
brands.
brands, manually tag those. That takes time. Like
Hmm.
it'd probably take 15 minutes down every time I did a reel. I helped Cameron I did all his things for him. I let him record on his thing, and then I did all his hashtags and everything for him. But I was down when he was doing that. I mean, somebody has to
Yep.
do that, and it takes a while. So that's a drawback, but I understand. I mean, it's kind of the nature of the beast. But you can't even stop. They couldn't say, okay, let's 15 minutes for post time. Can you imagine all of us standing there trying to talk? It'd be like, it sounded like a convention.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that part's a challenge, I think, but it's fun. It's just
What all brands ended up actually
um,
showing up at the show? Not the ones that supported it, but like which ones were actually there?
none of them.
None.
There was the electrical company who supplied the Renogy and the controllers and everything. I don't believe that they're even on social media. And they said that they just wanted to be involved and you could give them a shout out, but they couldn't even be tagged. So there was a couple of my tagged Renogy on there because I was like, well, I'm just giving them credit for the brand. Um, Surf Prep, DeWalt, what else was there? I'm probably drawing a blank. Well, they'll come to it's like four or five different companies. Um,
Yeah, like last year, Surf Prep was there, Gershner was there,
yeah, Gershner was
Bessie
not
was
there.
there.
Bessie was there. They sent well, that not there. They sent clamps. They were there with clamps, but they were
Yeah,
not there. Yeah, the brands were not
Grabo
there.
was there.
Um, yeah, Izzy had his Grabo there and was showing me some of his plate stuff, but no, the Grabo was not there.
Yeah.
Oh, 84 Lumber. That was a sponsor too.
So one thing I will say, and you and I have talked about this, um, but just to be, fair. So 2 years ago, I think I mentioned this on the podcast, or last year, not 2 years ago. Um, I thought the event was going to get canceled before it even happened, right? So I was asked to come to it, and then I didn't hear anything for like a long time, and then it got real close to the event, all the way up until the end, where it was like, "Hey, do you know anybody else that we can bring? We didn't get the grant we were hoping for, but we got it for next year, which is the year that you went." So I actually thought it was going to get canceled. It didn't. It got, and I was expecting it to not be a great event. It ended up being the most fun event that I've been to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was really excited about this year. And when they asked me, I was like 100% yes. And my assumption was is that they would have gone about it a little bit differently this year because the word was that they had the grant and everything else. Well, it turns out the grant got removed, which is a completely different topic. But I was still having conversations with them last week about who might be some other people close by that would be interested in coming. Um, I really hope, because I think this event is great. I think the message that they are trying to get across is amazing. I think a lot more brands should get involved. I think the tariffs is just the easy scapegoat for
Yeah.
not supporting it. Um, but according to them, you know, everything is going well for next year already. The grant money, everything like that. Already have the dates locked in. I've already got it on my calendar for next year. Um, I was asked by Marianne if I would be interested in helping with the spreading the word and planning for next year, and I was like 100% yes. Like count me in. I will. I would have 100% been there this year had it worked out a little bit differently. But when I saw you guys posting about it, I was really bummed out because I was like, man, this looks a lot of fun. Like that would be an awesome project to make. It's just sad because like I'm bringing all of this up because the people that are listening to this podcast, who we all know, right? We've built this great community. It would be amazing to get a lot of those people. Matter of fact, there's about 3 or 4 of them that I recommended to go last year.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, Mike, I think Jeff, I think Eric. Because again, it was like that last thing. Like, do you know anybody in the area? I'm like, I know a bunch of guys in Boston
Mm-hmm.
or in the Boston area, but I just hope that they are able to get the word out early and
Mm-hmm.
things go a little bit more smoothly because I would love to see a lot more people being able to take advantage of this. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Um,
and hopefully they'll have like a sign up, and literally anybody that's listening to this podcast could 100% do it. So
um,
hopefully it goes a little bit smoother next year.
yeah, I think that the planning is key. There's actually some things that made me appreciate how we do SplinterCon, FYI. I was like, and I talked to Izzy about some things he asked me, and I told him some things that I think would really, make it easier on them, communication wise.
Oh, for sure.
An example is they text everybody individually about any detail. And it would just be so much easier if that was a group thing, however they want
Mhm.
to deliver that message. When I saw Dave the first night, I shared some info with him and he shared info with me, and neither one of us knew each other's info. Like he knew about breakfast, I knew about this. And so it's
Right.
kind of like that part I told Izzy it'd make it a lot easier if there was a, if it's a group
Even if
text
it's an
or,
app for the event, it'd be
yeah,
fairly easy, a
something,
message board.
yeah, something where we know what the next step is and not have to just talk from rumor mill to find out. And also, I left out. When you were talking, I realized I left out somebody. Pine Barren Pallet Woodworks, which I've
Hmm.
always seen them at Woodcraft and not Woodcraft, Workbench Con. It's early.
Yeah, they're the ones. She does the mosaic stuff.
Yes,
She's
Carlina
incredible.
and Patrick,
Hmm.
and they are extremely nice. Love
Hmm.
them. They're awesome, awesome, awesome. And it's funny, it's one of those people that I knew who they were, but I didn't realize it until things started coming out. I remember listening to a podcast and them talking about them having a fire at their shop, and they had to move it. They moved it to downtown, and they put on a really big festival somewhere in the New Jersey area or somewhere in that area up there where they live, and it has like 10,000 attendees. It's huge. It's like massive, and that's like a big part of their business now. And they created that out of like necessity after the fire, just to try to figure out another way to do renovation. Now that's a yearly annual thing. So what made me think about that just now, as you were talking about other people involved, they really like it when it's people that can drive in just to save costs. Cameron and I drove in even. So they try to find people in the very local area, and local could even mean like Sam lives in New Jersey. There's
Hmm.
people in New Jersey. They did have two come from California, but they were involved, I guess, last year. Were both of them also there last year, or
Who?
was it just Lindsay, Lindsay and Joni Spray?
Neither one of them went last year.
Okay, okay. Well, apparently they must have arranged early on that they were coming, so they were the
Hmm.
only people that did not drive that I'm
Hmm.
aware of. Everybody else was driving in. Dave lives in New York area also. And Eric, who was planning on coming, lives in Pittsburgh, so it's all drivable.
Right. And that's a good thing for the listener to know. Like if you're somebody that lives more in that East Coast, northern, the New England area, I mean, if you apply, which again, going back to the planning and the preparation for this, there needs to be a way, because again, I was asked months in advance. I was like, "Yep, I'll be there. Don't care. Put it on,
Right,
put it on the calendar." And then they need to have somewhere to like sign up. Like, I would like to be an attendee to this event. If you're
right,
somebody that lives in that area, you probably have a pretty good chance
right.
of being selected. And the benefit is that your transportation, your food is provided for you, your accommodations are provided for you. Like, it's a great time
Mhm.
to go and hang out. So keep that in mind
Yeah,
for next year.
yeah,
That pending that they have it in the same location, which
right.
as of right now, I understand they are. But
Yeah. I just think there was just some conversations while I was there that I don't think they were talking about other options. Just kind of look. I guess the big
Indiana would be
thing.
great.
I guess the big thing is, oh yeah, even the locations. Even locations. Izzy told me his goal is to get it to the Greenville area where he lives.
Yes.
I totally
Yeah.
understand that. He's not sure when they're going to be able to do that, but he's like, they're not. This event is not tied directly to this place.
Hmm.
It's more of a concept that can be moved anywhere, and that's kind of the
Anywhere where there's a
plan.
local trade school or something like
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yes, yes. So that's what would be nice is what we went to. If every community had this type of place and had this type of event, it would just be, it could be replicated across,
Hmm.
and it brings so much awareness to an area. They said that facility is still very underutilized. A lot of people don't even know it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an event where I definitely think a lot more brands, like I really thought Festival would have jumped at the opportunity the first year, but understandably so. It was very close to the event, and I understand how marketing dollars work with a company. And when I asked them about it, they were like, this would be something we'd be interested in, but realistically, we would need to start talking about next year immediately after this one was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, because then they can start budgeting and all that stuff. So again, when it came down to this year and it was like 2 months out, and I'm talking with Marianne, and I was like, I can put you in contact with these people, but we're a little under the gun, so it'd be hard to do that. But that's like exactly the type of event that I feel like matches festivals messaging when it comes
Hmm.
to supporting the trades and making sure that the trades continue and
Hmm.
being I really think that they should get involved next year.
That
That's just
that
my
was brought
personal
up.
opinion, but
Yeah, that was brought up that they're
yeah.
they're going to be approached again. It was brought up when she approached us and asked us if we would like to have any DeWalt in front of Izzy. She's like, "Do y'all use DeWalt? Do you want to have some more DeWalt in your shop?" And I just kind of sat there, and Izzy's like, he goes, "They're Festool people," and she kind of didn't know what that meant. And apparently, she runs the DeWalt event. Do you know that?
I had a feeling that that was the case because she said the same thing to me. And I told her, I was like, if it's not a competitor, like Festool doesn't make all products. I have a basement full of DeWalt tools that I'm using on the basement renovation right now.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
I tell
I have
you, I
Milwaukee down there that I'm using. As
I
bad as
would
it
never
pains me to
agree.
say that.
Agree. Like when I have Milwaukee nailers, it's not like Festool makes nailers. I'm not tied to a specific brand, but I will say that there's two things. DeWalt, we use DeWalt uh, on just about everything. The tool that blew me away that I guess I'm spoiled, not because of Festool. I don't have a Festool, the multi tool. It's one of the few Festool tools I don't have that's like
Shame
a
on you.
mainstream one. I've always had the Bosch cordless one. I had a Rockwell one before that. I've used a lot of different brands of the multi tools, but I use the DeWalt one. I have to say, I do not like that at all. It is the loudest multi tool I've ever heard. It feels like it's going to
That's
break
saying
it.
something.
These were brand new out of the box, brand new out of the box, and it just was. It seemed clunky, heavy. The trigger was hard to do. Maybe I'm not used to it, but I dreaded using it when we did use it because it was so loud. It affected everybody in the whole room, and I was like, "Why is it so loud? Even when it wasn't cutting, it's loud. It's just loud running." I'm like, I don't understand that. Every one I've ever used is kind of quiet until it starts cutting.
Mhm.
And then I had to get used to the miter saw. The sliding miter saw in that shop, when you pull the trigger on the DeWalt, it has so much torque, I
It
guess.
bounces.
It jerks,
I used to
it has
have it.
kickback
Yeah.
on it. And I'm like,
Yes.
that's just kind of, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm
It's not a
spoiled with
soft start motor.
yes, I'm spoiled with the slow start. Maybe I had that when I had my DeWalt, you know, like, what was that 15 years ago and I've just forgotten. But I was impressed with the 20 volt. They had a cordless 20-volt DeWalt saw. That was nice. It has a huge capacity. I was cutting 1x6 decking with miters, standing it up on end, and no problem at all. That was nice. I wasn't a big fan of the plug-in one though. I liked the cordless one. It was nice.
I mean, I
But
pretty much at this point anything that Festival doesn't make, I'm trying to stick to one brand, but I can't because I like the Milwaukee nailer so much. Which, I'm using the framing nailer right now, even though it's
mhm,
quite heavy, which every framing nailer is. But what a tool that is. But all
mhm.
the other stuff that I have, it's tons of tons of DeWalt. I mean, they make
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
All the companies make good things, right?
They do. All companies do, and some companies are better at some things than
Things than
others.
others. Hmm.
Like the nailers, the DeWalt nailers, I would not recommend. I did not, and I'm
But the
comparing
Milwaukee
it
are
to,
great.
yeah, Milwaukee. I mean, even the Ryobi ones are better, I think, than DeWalt from what I've seen.
Ooh, that's
I
wow.
we had four
Wow.
we had four 16 gauge nailers out of the box. Three of them were having problems.
Hmm.
Everybody shared the one that was working. And after it fires, it's battery powered. After it fires, it does this breathing thing, kind of like a pass load. I'm not sure why it's doing that. If it's just a sound effect, but it would go like that
Yeah.
each time. And I'm like, what's that? What is it doing? Refilling an air cartridge? I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on.
I don't like those ramp up ones. I think that's why I'm so impressed with the Milwaukee.
Yeah, you just don't even think about it. It
Yeah, like I just put
works.
it on multiple nail and I just like hold the trigger down and pow, pow,
Yeah,
pow,
it
pow,
never breathes. It never has to do any of that kind of stuff. So I was not too impressed with that. So, and I'm mainly sharing that because I haven't had exposure to like DeWalt's latest. My DeWalt drills that I used were, way long ago. Like the drills were fine, impact was fine. They all were great. Um, it's just interesting. But yeah, she did come up and ask if we would be interested in getting any, and Izzy answered for us.
So I have two questions then, right? And then we can uh chat a little bit more about some other things and do our admin stuff. But who won? First question.
With Cameron and our team won. Yeah,
Did you? Of
yeah, yeah.
course
We
you
won.
did. You
We won.
dog.
I was little, I hate to say I'm surprised, but I didn't know if they were going to base it on. There were some really creative ideas that, they went all out. Some people used, think something from every room, every different type of room, and I thought we kind of stuck to the basics. But apparently they didn't tell us this, but I learned afterwards that one of the big categories was craftsmanship. There's like creativity and things like that, but one of them, the biggest weighted ones, was craftsmanship, and I don't think they really shared that with people.
Hmm.
That was our main focus, is to build something that would hold up and not blow
Functional that's
over.
also well built.
Yes, and it won't blow over. Which, by the way, that weighs about, I'd say, 450 pounds
Oh wow.
at least, because the wood was so wet, and it'll be like probably 30% less once it dries out. But oh, this is another fun fact. First day, day one, we haven't put the top on there yet. It's kind of like almost like a love seat Adirondack chair for anyone who doesn't look like no. And the back, backrest just kept going up with like a cantilever roof on it. And we were kind of starting getting curious, and I walk over to the arm and pull on it. I'm like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Once we got the roof on there, I walk up to it and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Then I changed to two arms and I tried it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And I had to really get into it, and I lifted it about an inch, and I was like, I just lifted at least 200 pounds. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So then Izzy's walking by. Izzy, anybody doesn't know, he told us he weighs 450 pounds, and he's taller than me probably. He's probably like 6'1", maybe, I'd say. He's tall. He's a big, big dude. And he walked over. He goes, "You mind if I sit in it?" He sat in it perfect. He's like super comfortable. We had just did the lift test I was telling you about. He walks over to the side and he's like, "What about the weight of it?" I say, "Oh, it's heavy." He reaches over with his arm straight almost out from him and picks it up about 2 or 3 inches and sets it back down. And it's like, it's not too bad. And we all looked at each other as he walked away, and I was like, "Oh my God, he is
Superhuman.
strong. He is strong." I'm talking, I have to go up there, put my arms at a deadlift, and use my legs to make it move. He used his arm beside him and picked it up.
Yeah.
That was
Big
impressive.
guy.
That was impressive. I guess he's used to lifting all that
Hmm.
weight, around, and he's extremely strong. But he ended up setting in it 3 times that day. One time for so long that I was like thinking, we're probably going to need to do
Yeah.
something to
Can you
that.
can you get up, Izzy?
But it was a great test because we had cushions, is what we bought in the store. We bought some cushions because we knew it would look good at the end. And they're 20 inches wide. And we were originally going to make the cushions that width. And we had a center divider in there. When he sat down, we were like, we need to make this wider than that. And we changed our design. So we used Sam, DIY Huntress, and Izzy as our two models to come sit 4 times, because we want to make sure that the armrest was comfortable for her and also comfortable for him. Those are our two extremes. That worked out.
Nice.
That worked out
Okay.
nice.
Last question. Out of all of the different build events that you've been a part of, where would this rank?
I think this one was the most fun build, probably the most fun build. And and the reason why Cameron and I talked about it, I liked how small the team was, in that I've won before on a different build off, and I didn't really feel like it was as much my own achievement because there was 5 or 6 people on our team, and there's so many people involved in it. It's almost like the luck of the draw who you got on your team. But when your team is only 4 people, you feel like you truly did win because it's such a small group, you know.
Yeah.
And it meant more when we won, because I was like, "Oh, that's cool," because it's like we pretty much had a part in every part of it. And the bigger
Hmm.
the team is, the less you have a part in every aspect of it. So you kind of feel like it's more of a luck of who you got on your team, you know.
Hmm.
But I really liked the way that this went, but it also made me appreciate the way other events are handled. Like, I think we might be a little spoiled from the way that
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
festival
that's why
events,
honestly, I'm so excited that Marianne even because honestly, I just what I think a big part of it is like Marianne needs help with that event
yes.
because she does a lot of events and she does a lot of stuff. And you could tell just like how much she has going on all the time. I was very glad when she asked if I would be interested in helping with it next year. And I was like, absolutely, 100%, because it's so much fun. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure that you would probably
Oh
even be
yeah,
interested
for
in
sure.
assisting. Will
For
you go
sure.
again?
Yes, and they've already told us that we are coming again. She
Yeah.
told us that she wants us to be back for sure, 100%.
Yeah,
And
that's going to be
I
awesome
said,
then.
yeah, I told
I'm
her
so
we would
bummed
love
out I
to.
wasn't there.
I mean,
I knew it. As soon as I
it
saw the stories, I was like, dang it.
one of my big things is that, Cameron even has Keep the Craft Alive on his logo. He always has. And this whole event is about keeping the trades alive. And so it's an event we need to be involved with, because it's kind of like our biggest thing that we're always promoting and trying to make people aware of. So
Yeah.
And it was great for Cameron. Every time Cameron goes to an event like that, he hasn't been to as many as us. I think it like lets him realize how much exposure he's had to different tools and different methods and that kind of thing. And he
Hmm.
realizes that everybody doesn't know that kind of thing. And I think he assumes everybody does. So I think it's always
Cool.
good for him to expose.
Well, I'm gonna put something out there. So if you're somebody, maybe I'll add something to the Discord or whatever. We need to figure something out. So if you're listening to this and you're somebody that just lives within a 6 hour drive of, we'll just say, where that location is, like, and I can't remember
It's
um, the name of the
Lavelle,
city.
Lavale, Maryland.
Lavelle.
Lavelle, Maryland is where I kept
Okay.
tagging. Yeah.
I would say if you're within a 6 hour radius, right? That's an easy drive. Um, Somehow, some way, I'll put a poll or I'll put a group chat in the Discord or something. If you're somebody that's in that area, and if you're somebody that would, maybe be interested in doing that, say next year in June timeframe, put it in there, because then when the time comes and I inevitably get asked, or Ronnie will now, because he's going to be involved with it again, do you know anybody? We'll have a list of people that, like, hey, these are people who would be interested in going. They can all drive there, if you live outside of that radius. But whatever we can do to try to help get some more people there, and then it would be great because we could hang out with patrons and build stuff together. So it'd be a
And
cool event.
the Instagram page is Makers Ultimate Challenge.
Yeah,
That's their Instagram, which they don't do a ton of posting, but they do. That's a place to kind of follow to get maybe some updates.
yeah. Maybe I'll go in there and take some of the pictures and do a post on our Patreon and show all the things that were built. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Um,
and if you check, well, it won't be. It'll probably already be gone. But DIY Huntress did some post on it, and Woodbrain, Lindsay's got some stuff out there, and if you check some of those individual pages, you'll see. Well, there's a hashtag we used. What was the hashtag? Uh, MUC is one of the
yeah,
result. Use hashtag MUC and hashtag I think Muck Ultimate Challenge, something like that. That'll grab all the posts that were done.
yeah. All right. Well, I know you have somewhere else that you have to be. So we got a time constraint. We got about 15 minutes left. I did want to give a couple of updates now that we know what you've been up to, basically. Um, I want to welcome some new patrons, which we have forgot to do this on the last episode, unfortunately, because now that we're doing the admin stuff later in the show, sometimes things slip through the cracks. I can't remember if we welcomed Dwayne Scott. I'm pretty sure we did, but welcomed Dwayne if we did not. I do want to welcome Dan Robinette and Matt. Uh, let's see, Wackerly of Wacky Works Workshop. Both of those two,
Oh,
Dan and Matt, both became an apprentice, which means they have access to our Bourbon with the Boys calls. But welcome, everyone. So Dan actually wrote me, and I'm sure he's going to be listening to this, but right after we did Bourbon with the Boys, and was like, because we had talked about possibly not doing the podcast because we didn't know if we were going to be able to make it work time wise. Um, Luckily, we were. But he had mentioned bringing him on because he has like a wealth of experience and knowledge in the woodworking space and the cabinetry space and the teaching space and all that. So Dan, thank you for that offer. I don't remember if I ever had gotten back with you, but I think he would be a good candidate to have on the podcast one of these days when we bring on another member. So we'll definitely keep that in mind, Dan. Um, we do have some giveaways to do. We do have some sponsors, our gold level sponsors to thank, which is Forged 3D and Leather by Dragonfly. And they are our gold level sponsors for SplinterCon. So huge thank you to them. And Forge 3D is actually the sponsor for this month's giveaway, which he's given away 2 sets of his new vacuum clamping pads, the 3D printed ones, which are really cool, which I'll actually be doing a video on here soon for YouTube. But we have that. We also have a festival swag item to give away, and we're going to give away another one of these cool pen sets in this nice case. And there's 2 fancy festival pens inside of it. And, if you're lucky, I'll mail it off before 7 months from now, which is funny because the cutting board and knife from last month. It's still sitting on my desk. And we drew the day after I shipped out all of the other stuff that I was so terrible to send out. And the person that won, Dave Embry, was one of those people. Matter of fact, he won the last pen set. And so, Dave, I apologize. It will be coming out to you soon. We should just do all the giveaways and then save them for the meetup.
Yeah,
And you must be present to claim your
there you
gifts
go.
throughout the year.
You almost won, but you don't get it.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do a Forge 3D IDA giveaway. Then we'll do the pen set. Then we'll do the other Forge 3D. So let's see who the first winner for May's giveaways is. And it is Corey Rays. Corey Rays. Let me make sure I write this down. Corey Rays. He's going to win the Forge 3D. Rays. And then we're going to go, let's remove him in all instances. Let's do another one. This is for the pen set. We have, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Oh, this is going to be a tough one. Bob. That's all it says. Bob.
Just Bob.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Bob. Pens. Hopefully, hopefully his information, or hope I'll be able to get his information. Let's remove him. And last Forge 3D pod set vacuum holding is going to be John Armenia, which
I mean, yeah.
I'll have to reach out to John and see if he actually wants it. John is the shaper
Uh,
rep, John Armenia, who may or may not be at our meetup. So we may be doing that giveaway again. I'll check with John. He might want it. Who knows? But my assumption would be is that John probably still has the old Festival of Access, seeing as how he used to work with Festival. All right. Well, congratulations to the winners. Thank you to our sponsors. Still got a few minutes. I wanted to share a little bit. I don't know if you saw this or not, Ronnie. Oh, wait. I think I did text you. I won a golf tournament.
I did see that, and I actually zoomed in and looked at the board, and it looked like you slaughtered them.
I did. I won by 4.
I noticed. I was
Yeah.
like, that's pretty cool.
I was two behind the lead after the first day, and I'm like, wow, I actually have a shot at this. And Nicole will tell you how nervous I was and overthinking everything and all these things running through my head on my way to the golf course the next morning. All this stuff. Got there. It was a perfect day. And I went out there and I played the best round of golf I've played on that course by far.
Wow.
And just destroyed everybody. We were on like you could check a live leaderboard because they use this app called Golf Genius. And so I'm updating the scores in real time. And at any moment, I could look at the leaderboard and see who's winning because they had 2 different things. They had a gross category, which is just your straight up score. Does not matter. Whatever you shoot, you shoot. And then they have what's called a net flight. And you could register for either one. I originally registered for the gross, but I stand no chance, right, in the gross because for one of the guys that's there is like a +5 handicap, and he's absolutely incredible, and just would destroy everybody. Like there's just no chance, and I thought I had a better chance of getting in the money going in the net. But what's weird is that my handicap is kind of like in this weird zone where it's hard to determine which one would be more beneficial because my handicap's not high enough to like really see the benefits as where somebody that does have a high one and like kind of sandbagging, they can go out and shoot really well. And then they have this really high handicap and it gets deducted from their score. So at the last minute, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with the net. I have a better chance of getting in the money if I go in the net. Well, it was a good choice because I did. So I played the net. So basically it's like whatever you shoot, then they subtract what your handicap is for the course. And then that is your score that counts towards the tournament. And so my handicap for that course was a 9 because it's a pretty tough course. So I shot 79 the first day, which gave me the 70, which was even. I was even after the first day. And then on the second day, I shot 72, which was 2 over. So I was 7 under.
That's
for
awesome.
the tournament. So it was really, really cool. I got to come home and show Leo the trophy, and he was super excited, and I
Oh,
was
that's
crazy
cool.
happy. But the biggest benefit for me is that they have this big tournament at the end of the year called the CCI Cup, and it's a 2 day event, and it's the one tournament I wanted to qualify for. You have to qualify for it throughout the year. And the way that they do that is every quarter you have to post like your best score, and then they'll go at the end and they'll see who was the best, and they'll pick the best players throughout the year for the teams. Well, because I won this event, I was the first person to automatically qualify for the event, so I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So that took
awesome.
a lot of stress off. So
Yeah.
very excited. I only wanted to bring that up simply because I did bail from the bourbon with the boys early.
Hmm.
Um, and
Hey,
I'm very happy that I did.
you know what? That is good. And that also, I was going to make sure we pointed out to everybody another benefit of joining our group and being on Patreon is that we have these calls, and the Bourbon with the Boys is with our top tier. And that one started at 7 and ended up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We decided we were going to get off.
That's insane.
Um, and you don't have to stay on that long. There's people that jump on and stay on for a couple of hours. There's people that have dinner plans on Friday night. It was a Friday. People jump on, like at 9 o'clock, 10
Yeah.
o'clock. But when we talk about, my wife's always like, "What do you all talk about for that long?"
Yeah. Everything.
It's the same as if we met up at a bar after the conference event. We talk about everything. We make fun of people. We do.
Yeah.
Patrick will get a little bit of grief over mouse patch, for example, and then
Yeah.
then we'll talk about ideas. We talked about business ideas for Dragonfly. We talked about, and bounce thing. People, Tyler will bring things on it's like a Zoom call, and Tyler from Forge 3D will bring products and actually show us what he's working on and get live input from the group. I mean, it's just such a valuable group, and it's people sitting there sometimes from all over the world. We've
Yeah.
got people in totally different time zones. Really, really cool. We do that one, and then we also do have a regular one where all patrons attend,
Beers
and
with the boys once a
beers with the
quarter.
boys. Yep, and it's just another perk
Yeah.
of being part of a group.
I did want to say thank you to you. That laser, oh boy, did it make laying out my walls down in the basement so freaking easy.
Good,
To be
good.
able to mark the ground and mark the ceiling at the same time,
Hmm.
and then go off of that one that I just did and shoot the next wall, and then go
Save
off
so
of
much
that one
time.
and shoot the next wall. It has been wonderful. Like I got everything laid out down in the basement. And what I did this time is I shot the lines. I measured off one wall. I measured off one known wall, got that perfectly straight. That established my second wall, right?
Hmm.
And then I marked everything on the floor and I marked everything on the ceiling. And then I went to the next one, and shot and did the same thing all the way around the room.
Hmm.
And then I went through and I actually laid down. This is a advice given to me from Adam. We were talking. I had an issue with my ram set. It wouldn't
Hmm.
sink the nails deep enough in my concrete at all, and I was even using the number four charge. And he had mentioned, sometimes when the concrete gets really old, it's just so rock hard that it's really hard to get in there. So he was like, I would just, what you can do is like you don't even worry about Tapcons. You can just use a construction grade adhesive, and he recommended PL 3000.
Hmm.
He's like, just do that, and then put your bottom plate down with the pressure treated, and then just use another stud and put it on top of that. And he gave me different various reasons why that's a benefit. You don't have corrosion of the drywall screws, all that stuff.
Hmm.
And what was really interesting is I laid out all my stud marks on the top and bottom plate of the 2x4, which sat on top of the treated, and it made the process go really fast because now I had my bottom plate down. I went through and I nailed all my bottom plates and went through nailed all my top plates, and right now I'm working on adding all of my studs, and I can mark the length. I can just go down the thing and mark the length of each stud and fit it in perfectly. It's been great.
Yeah, it's the way
It's
to
made
do it.
framing real easy.
I used to do it the beginning. The method you do is build the wall tight to where you kind of hit it with like a hammer, and you would just build the wall tight in place, and then just keep checking it with a level, and you just keep tapping, and because you had really nothing to go by except for the line on the floor, and you had to kind of level it up. This takes all the guesswork out of it, makes it nice.
One thing that I have, because like when your top and bottom plate, and you want to make sure that that vertical stud is like perfectly in alignment with the edge. One thing that I've struggled with a little bit, and maybe you have a pointer, when I go to shoot the nail in and toenail those studs,
Hmm.
it keeps shifting the board. So there's a couple spots where like it may be a little bit proud, and I end up having to go back with a hammer and just kind of like,
Hmm.
knocking it smooth just to
Need
get
the
it as close to flat as possible, just so I don't have nothing is bad. Like it's not any
yeah
like major movement. And it
the
wouldn't really affect the drywall all that much. But I don't want to have like a big bulge because I
right.
nailed it and then I'm trying to get the nails out.
Right. I usually like little one-handed Bessie clamp. I'll have one of those around just to hold it for me while I do it. Especially
Good
when I'm
idea.
working by myself. That's a really good way of keeping it. And then don't forget too, it's you might as well when before you do drywall, just take like a 6 foot level or something and just kind of hold it up and see if there's any places that are proud from the other. Like you may have one that's slightly kind of bowing out just because that's the way the wood was cut and it dried that way. And you can take a plane or a power plane or something and just kind of shave that off. Because if not, it could be a bulge you'll see every time you walk down like a hallway or something.
Yeah.
It's worth checking.
Well, I'm gonna get some more work on that today. We're heading to Florida tomorrow morning to go to Legoland with the kids.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna try to
We're
get
actually
as
going
much
we're
framing as I
going next
can
week.
today.
We're going to go to Florida next
You're
week, next Wednesday.
I don't even hear you right now.
Oh, you can't hear me right now? Can you hear me now? You can't hear me?
Nope.
Hello? Hello?
Oh no, he cut out.
I think I
Should I?
did.
Oh, there you are. I heard
Am
you.
I back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Don't know what happened there. My green light never went off on the microphone. That's weird.
Hmm.
I was just saying we're actually going to Florida next week as well. Kelly and I are going to take a little trip because both the kids are leaving. Madison's going to
Kelly and
Italy
I
and
are going to
camp.
take a little trip, and then you cut out again.
Did I really? Okay. Well,
You know what it you know what it probably is? It's probably a good sign because it is
yeah.
9:12. So I'll just go
Yeah.
ahead and take us out.
Okay.
Oh, I heard you just now. I think it's a connection issue.
Okay. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's all right. That's all we got. Ronnie's got somewhere to be. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, that's episode 186.
And
We'll see you
next
next
week
time.
it'll be all three of us.
Next week, it should be all three of us.
Yes.
All righty.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.